Love GAA history? Then you'll love going deeper with Over the Bar's Cordia Club membership. For just €5 a month, you'll get exclusive member-only episodes and series, early ad-free access to the main podcast, plus detailed show notes, a newsletter, and the chance to have your questions answered. Join Michael Foley and Ciaran O'Hara as they uncover the stories, the legends, and the questions that shaped our games. Don't just listen, be part of the club. Join now at overthebar.club.
Since the dawn of the GAA in 1884, the telling of its stories have been just as important as the sports. Through the years, heroes and matches have been immortalised, inspiring generation after generation. But some of its most important stories have also gotten lost or turned into legend. And in this series, we will explore some of the GAA's most fascinating forgotten tales, separating rumour from reality and myth from the truth that is often more amazing than the fiction. I'm Michael Foley.
And I'm Ciaran O'Hara.
So join us for Over the Bar, exploring the histories of the GAA.
Hello everybody and welcome to Over the Bar, the Gaelic Games History Podcast. Ciaran, the stage has been cleared for the last great dance of the summer, Ciaran, the All-Ireland football final. And I know that after this episode, you are taking yourself away to a dark room with the curtains drawn to get yourself into the right mental frame of mind as a Mayo supporter to be ready for Sunday. And if that means 3 days or more in the dark, you're going to do that.
Don't tell anybody in RTE Gaelic that, given that I'm producing Sunday Game BO for them on the RTE News channel at the weekend, Michael. I may be in a dark room, but it will be for editing purposes and in preparation for a broadcast our listeners should pay attention to.
Right, plug away. I will be a bit concerned about the quality of that broadcast, though, if Mayo do win and the producer just disappears out of the truck or darkened room he's in and goes running around the place screaming with his jersey up over his head. I think that's a definite possibility. It's a great week, though, isn't it? I mean, I was delighted to see Andy Moore and kind of stick it out there after the All-Ireland semi-final and say to people, enjoy this, it's okay to enjoy this. Like, there are 30 other counties and supporters of those counties out there who would love to be where Mayo is. I mean, we're all about history. So we know Mayo's recent history in All-Ireland finals. But I don't think any of that matters when you get into a week like this.
I don't think so, because if you look at the history in its entirety, particularly when we come to football, most of them have been won by two counties. It's not like Mayo are some big outlier in only having 3 All-Irelands.
Yeah, there are only... I mean, people forget this. It's a very simple statistic, but there are only 2 counties in double figures with All-Irelands. All the rest of us are 9, 8, 7, 3, 5, whatever.
This is something that I always come back to when we're getting that gentle ribbing from other counties. It's... Most other counties would give their eye teeth to be in an All-Ireland final. So I liked seeing Andy do that as well. I was just kind of going, yeah, let them go nuts.
Let them go nuts.
Like, the pity for me is, and I know I keep coming back to this, is I preferred it in September when the kids were back in school and they were putting up flags and painting the schools and coming up with songs, and because that's the generation we really want to get into it. And that's so much easier when you put them in a collective environment where they can all talk about their heroes being the current generation of players, as opposed to whatever Premier League club has started the best in September.
Yeah, I can see that. But, look, there are cool camps as well. Hopefully, if there are cool camps going on in Mayo this week, they're getting a good burst out of it, and in Kerry as well. And, other clubs will be hosting their own camps. Hopefully you can get to them that way. I would agree with you, though. It's the one loss of the September date is that possibility to get into the schools. Now, there is another thing that is concerning me. I don't like the omens for Mayo, I'll be honest. You know, and by the way, to our Kerry listeners, I don't want
Omens.
Schmomans. Well, hang on, give me a second now. I don't. To our Kerry listeners, I don't want to sound like, you know, this is all Mayo centred. Obviously, we have Kerry in mind at all times in all things we do.
Michael, that the message that Andy Moran gave should apply to Kerry too. Go nuts, will you?
Yeah, for once. To be fair, I'm down here and there are a lot of flags up. There are a lot of flags.
That's what you'd like. It's everything I just said for Mayo should apply in the kingdom.
But here's my Omen problem, okay? I love the white jersey that Mayo have chosen for the All-Ireland final. I think it's a thing of beauty.
Yeah, the Connacht jersey.
It is a Connacht jersey. But I am concerned. And I completely accept that they won their last All-Ireland title wearing a white Connacht jersey. Brilliant. But they also got leathered by Kerry in the 1981 All-Ireland semi-final, and they got leathered in a league match wearing a white jersey this year just passed, this spring. Are these not things that worry you?
No.
Why?
Because, again, we're talking about Andy Moran in press mode, but in his days as a player, you know, people would ask him about the defeats, and he would just say we weren't good enough on that given day. I've always subscribed to that. The days we lose All-Ireland finals, we just weren't good enough. If we lose an All-Ireland final this time, we just aren't good enough. No big deal. Get back on the horse, go again.
Fair enough. And one other one. It is 30 years since Pat McEnany refereed the Mayo versus Meath All-Ireland football final. 30 years later, another man from Cardiff, and the very best of luck to Martin McNally on Sunday. Hope he has a great game. But it is another Cardiff Monaghan man in charge of a Mayo All-Ireland final. Now, Pat McEnany, as we know, I mean, people can make their own judgments on whether he did a good or not so good job in those games. Definitely blew the drawing game up early, we know that. So, is there any little bit of a nervousness around? Again, just the omen, nothing about the referee not casting aspersions on Mark McNally at all, just the coincidence of how these things just happen.
The omens. It's like every year the omens is, in 1951, Cavan did this and Mayo are playing them in the first round of the league. Like, bugger the omens.
I think I've done my work here. I just wanted to get a rise out of you. I think I've done my work. I'm happy. I'm glad. I think the jersey is great. I'm delighted with it. I think Mark McNally is a fine referee. He's going to do a great job, hopefully. I have no issue with the omens. You mentioned something there about when you're good enough. You said if you're not good enough, you don't win. So the flip side of that is when you are good enough, you do win. Now, there has always been a lot of talk about Mayo losing All-Irelands, of course, in recent years. And before that, talk of Mayo's 2 back-to-back All-Irelands in 1950 and 51. But not so much talk, Ciaran, I would suggest, about the very first one that they won. So I would like to ask you the very, very simple question. How did Mayo win their first All-Ireland?
Oh, and I've had some fun looking into this. Because like you say,
I can tell.
We know a lot about the 50 and 51 team because they became the subject of this fallacy of a curse. Many of them were interviewed for years about that time. That story's pretty well known. But what wasn't known, and like this is what makes it spectacular for me. In a 15-year period, you've got all 3 All-Ireland wins. But that first in 36, everybody talks about how great 50 and 51 was because they were back-to-back All-Ireland winners. But they were nowhere near as consistent as the team of the 1930s. If I tell you that between 1933 and 1939, Mayo won 9 national titles, that'll give you an idea of just how good a team that was. And when we last encountered this team, it was in our show around the murder mystery in East Mayo.
Indeed.
And they had gone on their trip to America, financed by Mayor Bill Dwyer. But in the immediate, so that team had won 3 Connachts in a row. And when they come back from America, they win a 4th. They become the second Mayo team to do that, the second team from Connacht to do that. They've had a great opportunity on that trip in 32 to come together, to train together. A couple of things happened on the trip, and we mentioned them at the time. Baller Lavin's invited because his international athletic profile.
Yep, the man who invented the solo run.
But, better known as an Olympic sprinter, was able to add to the profile while they were trying to promote the games to non-Irish sports fans. But another guy that was brought on that trip was a Garda, former army man, now a civic guard, Dick Hearns, who was an internationally renowned amateur boxer. And he's invited along because that's his profile. He's a brilliant Gaelic footballer, played for several counties while stationed there. And a story we may come back to in his own capacity. In many ways, Dick Hearns is one of the fathers of modern coaching.
Okay, how so?
Just in terms of the physical condition that he could get teams in for that time. We're talking about a guy who ultimately, his coaching career spans Mayo, Dublin, Shelburne, he's got it. But he's on that trip. And what begins to happen in the years afterwards is when they have any form of collective training, Dick Hearns is the man supervising it.
Was Dick Hearns offered a deal to stay in America?
He was one of two that were offered deals to stay in America. The other person that the American press became obsessed with was Gerard Carrell, who was the star forward on the team from Ballina. They just loved the way he could kick a ball. They loved the curl on his shot as it was. But apparently he was made an offer to stay and play professional American football in America as a kicker, but he elected to come home. Dick Hearns was being feted by boxing promoters who wanted him to stay in America and turn pro. And indeed, Bill Dwyer said to him, Dick, you should stay here. There's some easy pickings here. But neither do. So they do actually return. And in the aftermath of that, as I say, they win their fourth Connacht title in a row. And that's kind of this is a side that has lifted the standard in Connacht. So what occurs then beyond that is somebody's got to respond. We see this all the time. And usually when a Mayo rises, then Galway rise.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get in the year after this is a very young Mayo team, by the way. They're captained by Michael Mulderrick, who we've spoken about before. And there's he and TJ Hanley, they're a couple of older guys. But if you remove them, the average age of the team is early 20s.
So this is a team that was it put together in the early 30s? Was it the end of one team, beginning of another?
It kind of is. It's that team that missed out on their All-Ireland in the 20s. It's the last of them. And then it's a new bunch of very young guys. Like Gerard Carrell's somewhere in the middle. He's in his mid-20s. But then you have teenagers in the group as well. And what happens is in 33, the old-timers, after losing a Connacht final to Galway, they step aside now. But I mean, even one of the impacts of that 32 trip that nearly cost them the Connacht 4 in a row was that they'd all had to use up their time off work to go on the trip. So they're in a position then where, just prior to leaving, they played the Kerry team, who were going for 4 All-Irelands in a row in Castlebar, and it draws an enormous crowd, and Mayo beat them, which also helps sell the event in America because the Mayo team that can beat Kerry is coming to New York. So they win their 32 Connacht championship, but their 32 season, which should be spectacular because they do get to the All-Ireland final, is disrupted because traditionally what happened before an All-Ireland final? You went into collective training.
Uh-huh.
But these boys can't take their leave.
Oh, no, because they've been in New York.
So what ends up happening for the All-Ireland final is they have pods. This is like COVID training. So Dick Hearns is looking after the Ballina-Ballycastle pod. Michael Mulderrick's looking after the Erris pod. The Castlebar pod are being looked after by another group. So they're not actually collectively training. And now they do not disgrace themselves in the All-Ireland final against Kerry, but it certainly costs them the opportunity to win that. So
were they wearing white?
They weren't wearing white.
Okay, carry on.
So, that for Mick Mulderrick now is his second All-Ireland final that he'll have lost. He'll also have been denied by the chaos of the 1925 championship.
Yes, of course.
You find that at the episode about the year that both Mayo and Galway were crowned All-Ireland champions. We keep coming back to these things.
Literally every episode we've done, I'd say, comes back in some way, shape or form to 1925.
And then he goes, he does go on for another year in 33 to play. But they lose the Connacht final to Galway. So basically, does this sound like a familiar pattern, Michael? Mayo lose an All-Ireland final, and then the following year, Mayo after doing 4 Connachts in a row, and the following year, guess what happens? A Galway team emerges.
Slips in the gap.
Boom. So Galway beat them in the Connacht final. Galway go on to lose to Cavan in the 33 All-Ireland final. But some of the old-timers like TJ Hanley, like Mick Mulderry, they're stepping aside at this stage. But something very important did happen to Mayo in 33. And you may be able to explain to people why this is important.
Well, it's an All-Ireland junior title, right?
They won an All-Ireland junior title. Why was that more important then than it is now?
Well, just because it was. Like, the All-Ireland senior title, of course, was the blue ribbon event, but next up was the All-Ireland Junior title. It's even reflected in the coverage, just huge previews and stuff about the junior final. So, like in this situation, if Mayo are winning the All-Ireland Junior final, that bodes very well for what's coming through. And you're talking there about a team that is still winning, but it is in transition. So, did they glean a lot of players off the junior team? How did they manage that?
Well, the nature of the win. So they beat Donegal in that All-Ireland Junior final by 2-15 to 2-2.
Oh, that's a big beating. Now, to be fair to Donegal, they're only really getting organised at that point, but still, good win.
That would mean that this is Donegal's first team.
First team, yeah.
Now, what that did in Mayo was it made people look at the footballers that were on the junior team. It made them consider how they had played. By the time we get to the first round of the league in the 33-34 season, which is against the league champions, incidentally, it's against Meath and the Leinster champions. There are 6 of the junior team in the Mayo senior team, plus a couple of minors from the previous year.
That's a lot of turnover.
They're adding more youth to what was already a young team. And the experienced players now in the team are your Jared Corrells around 26, your Paddy Moclairs 26, 27, and then just this huge injection of youth like Henry Kenny, Enda Kenny's father, Patsy Flannelly. Just a terrific crop of young players. And you're going to wonder, why am I putting so much significance on league?
Yeah, why?
Because Jesus Mayo put a lot of significance on it in the 30s.
Well, if there's one thing that I know about Mayo pre-1950, it's that they won a shed load of leagues in around this period in the 1930s. Was it that they were just so brilliantly consistent? Was it that the league was really easy to win at the time if you applied yourself? Why were they able to just corral almost this tournament to themselves?
Well, I mean, it's not that it was easy. This 33-34 league is the first league that we could legitimately refer to as a national league. It is the first year that they split it into groups that are cross-provincial. And Mayo are not in an easy group. I'll go through that in due course. But if I tell you their record, in the next 9 years, or seasons, because they were autumn, spring seasons for the league.
So into the early 40s we're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They win 7 out of 9 league titles.
It's good going.
And they win 6 in a row. So there's a degree of consistency there that is utterly unreal.
That's outstanding. To be fair, whatever the league looked like in that era, and from what you're describing, it's becoming the league we recognise now. That's an incredible record.
And I mean, in that 33-34 season, so in the second round, they played the All-Ireland champions, Cavan. So the second round at that time would have only been a few weeks after the All-Ireland final. And they beat them in Breffni. So this is the group now that we've gone cross-provincial. They've played the Leinster champions. They're playing the All-Ireland champions. Who's up next? They play Galway. They beat Galway.
Right. Okay.
And then they beat Louth by 9 points to qualify for a National League final.
That's very high-end stuff. Like, in terms of the opposition you're describing there now, Louth would have been decent that time as well, I think.
And the league final is against Dublin. And Mayo's record is sufficiently good that... and here's one for you now. Talk about an incentive for a league competition. Where do you imagine the league final was played?
Oh, I'd imagine Croke Park.
How about McHale Park, Castlebar?
Oh my goodness. Right. Taking it on tour. Do we know why it was played in McHale Park?
It was played in McHale Park because Mayo's was the best record in the league. So as I say, that's the incentive.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, fantastic. That's one to think about, isn't it?
Love GEA history? Then you love going deeper with Over the Bar's Cordia Club membership. For just €5 a month, you'll get exclusive member-only episodes and series, early ad-free access to the main podcast, plus detailed show notes, a newsletter, and the chance to have your questions answered. Join Michael Foley and Ciaran O'Hara as they uncover the stories, the legends, and the questions that shaped our games. Don't just listen, be part of the club. Join now at overthebar.club.
They end up drawing the final in Castlebar against Dublin, and it's most notable because of an injury to Gerard Carrell. Now, I think I need at this stage to put Gerard Carrell in context.
Yes, please, because I have heard this name. I think I know where you're going with this. To listeners, I would say, just pin this to the back of your heads now.
I don't want to say Gerard Carrell was the David Clifford of his era.
You just have. By the way, you just have.
No, well, I haven't, because if you hear me out. Because he's, people don't talk about him as one of the greats of the game. But if you were to take someone who was consistently the top scorer in league and championship every year from the time he arrives on the scene until he's gone, that's where you are with Gerard Carrell. We're probably talking like this is Bernard Brogan stuff or Dean Rock.
Yes.
That's where Gerard Carrell is, okay?
Metronomically steady scorer season after season after season.
Technically supreme, and he's injured at this stage, so they're really relying on the other man in the full forward line, who's Paddy Monclair. Now, as I say, the game finishes in a draw, but they can't play a replay straight away because the Connacht Championship is about to begin.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So they have to get into the Connacht Championship that year. And as I say, they're hindered by the fact that Carrell is injured. And ultimately, they lose the Connacht final to Galway. So Galway are now setting their sights on, we've lost an All-Ireland final last year. Let's see where we go this year. And by the time they do get around to playing the replayed league final, it's in Croke Park. But Gerard Carrell is fit again. And that effectively decides the match. He scores 2-4 as they beat the Dubs in Croke Park.
Wow. That's a serious tally to put up in that era.
Yeah.
4.
And it might not sound like anything massive at the moment, but that's Mayo's first senior national title, that league win. So they're exceptionally proud of it. The fans are ecstatic about it. Like, Carrell talks about the feel of the cup in his hands afterwards as captain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And these are important steps into what's got to come next. Now, that was played so late that they played Dublin a week later in round 1 of the following year's league.
Smashing.
And by half-time in that game, they were 2-5 to 0-0 up against Dublin.
Oh, wow. So they're just on a complete crest of a wave when it comes to the league.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if weather was a factor in this game.
Oh, really? Crest of a wave.
Dublin kept Mayo scoreless in the second half, but only scored 1-7.
Oh, Lord. Right. Might have been a bit of a breeze, so perhaps.
Now, what that new league campaign is most notable for is the emergence of a teenager from Crossmolina who's out of minors.
Well, we love the emergence of a teenager from Crossmolina in any GA season, Ciaran, don't we?
We sure do.
We sure do. So,
and if you ever find yourself at a game out the back of McHale Park, at the little ground that's out the back, it is known as Josie Munnelly Park, and it is Josie Munnelly who comes into the Mayo team at that time. Barely out of minor, an absolutely prodigious talent and someone who was picked out immediately in the newspapers of the time as having been pivotal in that win.
Aye, omens, Ciaran, omens. Kobe, Josie.
Oh, omens, schmomens.
Well, that's surely some omens you like to hear. Surely there's some you'll embrace.
Look, we'll see. In any event, what we're seeing, Mayo are building, Galway are flying. The challenge has been laid down. Now Mayo must step up. And in 1935, they really do. Like, Mayo played 13 league and championship games in 1935. They only lose 3. And 2 of those happen to be to Kildare. So if you're worried about white jerseys, Mick.
I'm not worried about white jerseys at all.
So they lose the first round of the league in a tie to Kildare. And Kildare are a serious team at that time. They go on then to beat the reigning All-Ireland champions, Galway, in round 2 of the league. And they're crowned back-to-back league champions themselves later on when they have a home win against Meath. But bizarrely, and this kind of comes back around to, I would love to know, were the GAA short of a few quid at the time? So Mayo have won the league, but then are asked to play a semi-final against Tipperary and a final against Fermanagh, who, by the way, are nowhere near the level of the teams that were in Mayo's group, okay?
This is definitely a money spinner. Like, what are we looking at? Ireland in the mid-1930s. This is the years of the hair shirt economy. We're just out of the Great Depression that has lapped up against Ireland's shores. You can be sure there was probably no money anywhere. So, yeah, this sounds like a money grab.
Okay, so it's a money grab that sees Mayo absolutely torture Tipperary in the semi-final. And then they beat Fermanagh 5-8 to 2 points in this new league final. Gerard Crowell scores 3-1. Paddy Mulclare scores 2-2 in that game. So, but look, they're back-to-back league champions. This is the second of the 6 in a row. In the 35 Connacht Championship, and this will give you a sense now of how well this young group are knitting together and the style of football they're playing. They beat Sligo 9-2 to 3-5.
Oh, that's harsh on Sligo.
This is a team that likes goals.
Yes, they do. Yeah. I like the sound of them, though. They sound like fun to watch.
Yeah, like they're getting a reputation for being entertaining, for playing a particular brand of football, for having exciting forwards and an exciting style of play. They then have an absolutely mammoth Connacht final against Galway, the reigning All-Ireland champions. And Gerard Carrell has one of the games of his life. Scores 7 points of Mayo's 12, and they go on to dethrone the All-Ireland champions in that game, which earns them another tilt at Kildare in the All-Ireland semi-final. And I did mention at the outset that they lost twice to Kildare in 1935. So this group is not the group that had played in the 32 All-Ireland final, but this group are getting closer to getting themselves in an All-Ireland final.
And are people patient? Are they expectant? Like, Mayo have never won an All-Ireland before. So would the Mayo public have expected them to win an All-Ireland by now? Kind of what's the vibe around the team kind of compared to now, like, you know?
No, well, I mean, there is an expectation because they've now got the 2 league titles in a row. I would say there's a pressure because Galway have gotten the All-Ireland. And they know themselves, like they're talking about this. It's like, we can win one. So this is the next step now. A few weeks after the All-Ireland, the following year's league starts. They beat Kildare, finally.
Oh, for God's sake.
But at the wrong time.
It must be very annoying. That must have been really annoying now.
Yeah. You know, like they can do it. So why haven't they?
Yeah,
and I mean, I mentioned...
That's my question to you. So where do they have to come up? So we're in autumn 35 now. A year out from the next All-Ireland final. What do they need to do?
they've just got to be consistent. So that it's consistency of effort. It seems to be that in particular games, a team either has a hex on them in the case of Kildare, or there's just a relaxation of effort. I mean, we see it again. That I mentioned they lost 3 games. The third is in the next match away to Dublin in Croke Park. So you could very easily say this is a Croke Park issue or this is a Leinster issue, but they've just got to get on with it now. They've got to figure out what's the next step. How do we get to be All-Ireland champions in 36?
I like how you're resisting the omens at every turn as we go along. You just listed a rake of them for the 1930s, and you're not having any crop with these either.
No. When they're good enough, they'll win.
I love it. That coming soon. Start
of 1936, which anyone who's looked at the title is going to know is a fairly important year. Like, they're up and running like a train. They beat Galway. They beat Tip. They beat Cavan. Cavan are the All-Ireland champions. Like, they're consistently able to beat the teams at the top. But it's not just that they beat Cavan. They beat them by 14 points in Breffni.
Yeah, it's a lot of landmark results in this. Like, you've mentioned a couple now, like, but they're just hammering teams. Like, big, good teams now.
And now the question is, how do you bring that into the summer? So why can they do that in autumn and spring and not do it in the summer? Now, there's something else occurs in that year. Connacht win the Railway Cup.
Aha.
So we've had Galway winning an All-Ireland. We've had Mayo winning national leagues. We have Connacht winning a Railway Cup. The standard of football is probably as high in Connacht as it has been since the foundation of the GAA. It is becoming the sport of the province. So in 36, Connacht football has never been high. As high. Actually, the previous year's Connacht final, that one against Galway that I mentioned, the attendance had been 26,000.
Wow. That's really
Which those figures
high.
at that time, like we're talking, that's the kind of figure you would get in Croke Park for semi-finals.
Yeah. Would you get those figures down the country?
No, I mean, the previous record was 16,000. A game between Mayo and the USA team that came for the Tailteann Cup at one stage had attracted 10,000, and that had been seen as massive. You know what I mean?
Sure.
In 35 and 36, you're seeing, like, crowds are starting to come to games. Like, Mayo had played in Fitzgerald Stadium for the opening of the ground in 36, or it may have been 35. And there'd been 35,000 in Killarney for a challenge match.
Yeah. But it's gathering momentum now.
Now they come into the 36 Connacht, and the first opponent is Sligo, whom they play in Ballina, and they absolutely demolish them. So the form is being carried in now from the league. You've got that day, the goal scorers from Mayo are Seamus O'Malley, who's a man we're going to talk about a bit more as we get further through this, and a guy who's known as the captain, Paddy Munley. Now, he's not the team captain, Paddy Munley. Gerard Correll is still the team captain. But then we get to the Connacht final against Galway. Now, the rivalry is heating up.
Well, we're talking about former All-Ireland champions dethroned by Mayo the previous year, meeting now in a Connacht final in 36 with Mayo on a high. This has the makings of a classic.
This has the makings of a classic, and this has huge potential for chaos.
It is 1936, isn't it? So what do we get? Do we get classic or do we get chaos?
This is the 4th year in a row that they've contested the final.
Phew.
It's not got the 26,000, but there's 20,000 there.
That's pretty good.
It's a pretty hot day, hot atmosphere amongst the supporters, and it ends in a draw.
Okay.
But that only tells part of the story. If you're looking at this from the Galway perspective, Brendan Nestor, whom the Connacht Cup is now named after, is the hero of the hour. Were you to talk to somebody from Mayo, they would say he is the biggest villain.
Another Galway villain to shake their fists at. Stephen Jordan, that great Galway administrator first. Now, Brendan Nestor. Why Brendan Nestor, Ciaran? He sounds like a perfectly nice chap. They named a cup after him.
The pivotal score in this game is a goal scored by Galway, by Nestor, where it appears that a number of Galway players have bundled the Mayo goalkeeper Tom Burke into the net.
Oh, it's a pushover goal. They've rucked it over the line.
It's that type of... Well, I read... you know what I'm going to do? I'll read for you what the Western people of the time said.
Okay.
Brendan Nestor was the hero of the hour. It was he who set an amazing Galway raid on foot, which ended up with about 12 Galway and Mayo players sprawling in the Mayo net.
A 5-metre scrum.
The ball tucked away in a corner of the mesh.
Oh, right. So it did go over the line, Ciaran.
And 10,000 spectators stampeding to the spot.
Uh-oh.
While a fiery band of Mayo men tried to wrest the goal flag from the hands of the half-crazed Galway player. It was Nestor. So Galway have scored this pushover goal. Brendan Nestor's gone to pick up the umpire's flag.
Oh,
the
dear.
crowd have gone bananas and invaded the pitch. Among those who invades the pitch is Michael Mulderick.
Oh, God, right.
Brendan Nestor ends up being hit with the flag.
Someone did wrestle it off him then in the end.
Somehow order is restored and the game is completed as a draw.
Wow. That's
but now,
insane.
tensions are rising. I've never heard of a pitch invasion of this nature in a GAA match before.
Well, I mean, there had been pitch invasions, obviously going way back. I mean, we've come across All-Ireland finals that were delayed and whatnot for fellas kind of encroaching onto the field. This does sound slightly different, though, given the era we're talking about. Was there any blowback from Central Council, from the GAA, from Croke Park?
No, it doesn't appear to be. Everyone's just quite happy that there's a replay, I think.
They're just saying nothing. Another good money day. Another money grab.
It's the score. The final score is 2-4 Mayo, Galway 1-7. Both goals scored by Jared Carell. We're getting a sense of
he's just lethal. So what happens in the replay?
Now, the most bizarre thing to occur in the replay. So Jared Carell scored these 2 goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jared Carell is the most nailed-on player, surely, in the Mayo team. He's
a superstar.
And then the selection committee do what? Jared Carell is dropped for the replay.
What?
You're just going...
What?
So, what happens is the selection committee decide that Jared Carell should be replaced, that the team can play without him. Jared Carell is somewhat seen as different now. You never hear people saying that he's particularly individual, but if I give you an example, before one kind of final against Galway, he goes to train himself for a week on Bartra Island, which is an island in the kind of Moy estuary between Ballina and Killala. While the rest of the team are training in Castlebar, it's kind of seen as it's rumours are rife that he's fallen out with the selection committee and he's not going to play. So there does always seem to be, reading between the lines, there seems to have been stories about how he got along with selectors, etc. Mm-hmm. But I mean, Jared Carell doesn't walk off the panel or anything like that. Jared Carell is just not selected to play the next day.
It's an incredible decision.
And bear in mind, he's the captain.
This is unbelievable.
So the other thing that happens is, we mentioned Seamus O'Malley. Seamus O'Malley is moved from the forwards to centre back. Seamus O'Malley is also made captain.
Right.
Now, Seamus O'Malley is an interesting figure because Seamus O'Malley had been involved in the 32 final. He'd gotten injured for a while. He'd kind of stepped away from football. He actually becomes the secretary of the county board in 1935, he's the secretary of the county board. And then he seems sufficiently fit to come back in 36. And look, we can understand he seems to be, if he's a secretary, does all these things, he's a leader. But he becomes captain from this point onwards. And as I say, plays magnificently from centre back. So they win the replay against Galway.
No riot?
No riot this time. All seems to have been okay. No players holding up the flags for the umpires.
Love GEA history? Then you love going deeper with Over the Bar's Cordia Club membership. For just €5 a month, you'll get exclusive member-only episodes and series, early ad-free access to the main podcast, plus detailed show notes, a newsletter, and the chance to have your questions answered. Join Michael Foley and Ciaran O'Hara as they uncover the stories, the legends, and the questions that shaped our games. Don't just listen, be part of the club. Join now at overthebar.club.
They go on then, and they're meeting Kerry in the All-Ireland semi-final. Now, if you want to get a sense of how things have changed between that 32 All-Ireland where Kerry won their 4 in a row and this 36 semi-final, Mayo are the ones that are now winning national titles. They're winning junior, they're winning national leagues. There's been a minor championship win in 1935, which again is a huge win for Mayo. And Kerry are winning Munsters. You know what I mean?
Nothing wrong with those, Ciaran.
Mayo do get over the line against Kerry, which sets up an All-Ireland final against Laois. Now, Laois this is a particularly novel final. This would be the equivalent of Fermanagh playing Wicklow in the All-Ireland final.
Good God.
Like teams that just don't have the pedigree of winning it. It's an incredibly novel final to people. And what we have, and again, I have to acknowledge James Laffey's book, The Road to 51. If you really want detail on this period, get your hands on that book. It's astounding. But we mentioned in 32 what had hindered them was the lack of collective training. No such problem in 1936.
Oh, really? Was there did people put their hands in their pockets, Ciaran?
Yeah, he doesn't have the details of how it's funded, but basically they go into collective training in Castlebar, and I can give you an example of how that worked.
Oh, yeah.
So they stayed in Molly Redmond's boarding house on Spencer Street. Mrs. Redmond was renowned for her cooking.
Ooh, very nice.
And her specialty was fillet steaks.
This now is the food of champions in the 1930s, I would have thought.
Training is under the supervision of 2 guard officers, one Dick Hearns and Paddy Halpin, and was divided between the military barracks, so the army barracks in Castlebar and the GA pitch. Players' Day began at 7:30am with a run out the Newport Road. They went back to Mrs. Redmond's. They had their breakfast.
Steak.
They went to the gym in the afternoon. Then they went to McHale Park to do a bit of training. Dick Hearns is overseeing all this. It's almost scientific. There's 2 weeks of this.
Oof, right,
like there's a 3-week lead into the final. So they do 2 weeks of exceptionally hard training. And then they have a taper week. The 3rd week is tapering.
Wow, that is modern.
So you're getting a sense now of all the little things that they've learned along the way. Like, would you like to know a little more about Dick Hearns?
Yeah, please, because he sounds like a very interesting chap. Quite apart from almost becoming a professional boxer in the States, now availing of Mrs. Redmond's steaks and training the Mayo footballers.
Yeah, and I mean, his background, as I mentioned, he was in the army, he was in the Civic Guards. His boxing career, he won 178 of 198 bouts. That's
outstanding. That's clearly outstanding. That's a lot of punches.
Yeah, like he beat Roger Michelot, who was the gold champion from the 1936 Olympics.
Wow.
In Berlin. He's a serious bit of stuff.
What part of Mayo? Actually, what part of Mayo was he from, Ciaran?
Dick Hearns is from Ballina.
Yeah, it's a great. There's a great tradition of boxing in North Mayo, isn't there?
There's huge. But I mean, Dick Hearns is from Ballina. He's, during his time in the Guards, he's been based in Roscommon, Donegal, Cork, Dublin, Longford. He's lined out in Gaelic football for all of them.
Wow, okay. So,
he's got this ability to get guys fit, but he knows football. Now, there's an interesting story in James Laffey's book of around this time, a 14-year-old from Crossard, which I presume is a town near Ballahadreen, by the name of Sean Flanagan, wandering in to Ballahadreen to buy red and green paint to paint the doors. Like, hype existed then, Michael.
There you go. Andy Moran's words ringing true again. And I mean, if Sean Flanagan, the great leader of the 50-51 teams, can go and paint his doors green and red when he's 14, I think anybody can. By the way, Ciaran, Andy Moran, Ballahadreen, Sean Flanagan, Ballahadreen, Omen.
In terms of the final itself, they go up to Dublin. They stay in the Spa Hotel,
Very nice.
which at that time was owned by the Colgan family from Mayo. It was seen to be a country hotel.
sure, as they say, Ciaran, it was all green fields then.
There's only one change to the team that lines out, or that's selected for the final. It's not Ger Correll coming in.
What?
No.
This is shocking. I mean, this really is. I know you said you didn't want to compare him to David Clifford, and we won't, but it's certainly the equivalent of, I don't know, suddenly replacing an in-form Paul Ganey or a Shawnee Shea or someone like that.
It's an utterly inexplicable decision.
It's insane.
And I mean, he's still in the panel. It's not like he's left in disgust. He will get an All-Ireland medal, but he's not on the field of play, which just seems incredible.
It's amazing.
The only change was Tommy Greer got into the first 15 at the expense of Tom McNicholas. But while they're in the Spa, there's entertainers organised to come out from the city for them. Right?
Oh, I love it. Ed Sheeran types, is it?
Well, I don't know. This sounds like, getting Christy Moore in to play a few folk songs for the lads, like the rugby team do.
Well, I hope the Mayo lads reacted better to whatever entertainment they brought out to them than the England football team did to poor old Ed Sheeran at the World Cup this last couple of weeks, just staring at him vacantly and looking quite bored by the swimming pool.
But I mean, there's another one, terrific statistic from that book where it mentions that in 1923, and we've talked about this, there was 16,000 at the All-Ireland final that Mayo played in. In 1936, 4 times that number come to watch them in Croke Park. This is the golden age of attendances. This is when the massive leap gets made. We've talked about it in hurling. But this final between Laois and Mayo is so novel that it's what creates a spectacle of the All-Ireland football final.
And are they glad to be playing Laois? As opposed to Kerry, Kildare.
I haven't been able to get a sense of that, but what I did see is that they regularly played Laois in the league. So that's one of the benefits that comes from this new national format. They wouldn't have had a fear of them. They'd played Laois in a league game in Ballinrobe where they'd conceded 3 goals. And there was a resolve not to concede goals, period, beyond that point, not just against Laois.
Mm-hmm.
The railway companies were making a packet on supporters travelling for this one. Now, the Mayo players on the morning of the game got up. They had mass in the hotel. It was read by the Bishop of Achonry, Dr. Morris Rowe.
No messing.
And then they went on to Barry's Hotel. So their kind of city base, they checked into Barry's Hotel. They wandered over for the 3 p.m. throw-in Croke Park. There was no kind of talk about tactics or anything like that. It was just kind of all man-on-man stuff.
Well, I guess they've been here before. It's that classic old thing, They've been around big games before. Okay, it's a few years since they made a final, but they kind of know what they're about at this stage. And as you say, it sounds like they've been filling in the gaps this summer in terms of making themselves more consistent and fitter.
They've been building, whereas this is Laois's first provincial title since 1889.
Yeah, their season is already peaked.
Well, you can say that, but they are in All-Ireland final. They're not there.
No, they're not there for the fun. But I put it this way: I would imagine that if Mayo had been defeated, it may have felt different to Laois being defeated. Were Laois defeated, Ciaran?
They certainly were. So there's a great line from the Irish press that described Mayo at the time as letting loose a torrent of brainy, crafty, spectacular football that simply overwhelmed the Laois men.
Oh my God.
The game was effectively over as a contest at half-time. Mayo led by 2-5 to 2 points. Henry Kenny, Vander Ravenda Kenny, and Patsy Flannelly at midfield are absolutely dominating in the middle.
Look at you. It's like you're talking away there, and the excitement in your voice. It's like it only happened last weekend.
Well, I mean, the funny thing, now you want to talk about omens and superstitions and all this stuff, okay?
Hey, listen, I'm just mentioning stuff I'm noticing. It's not that I want to talk about this stuff. I'm just putting it out there.
I'm going to give you one, okay? I'm going to give you one. Patsy Flannelly is widely considered to have been, if there had been such a thing as a man of the match in All-Ireland finals at the time, Patsy Flannelly is widely considered to have been the outstanding player on the field on this particular day. But before the game, there's a pre-match photo. There was kind of a tradition that you would pose for the pre-match photo and someone would hold a lucky horseshoe. Right?
Dick Hearns brought it, did he, from his amateur boxing days?
That was donated, I gather, by Anthony Clark, a guy from Bohola, to Seamus O'Malley. But as I say, it's Flannelly that held it for the team photograph. So if you want a superstition, you can lead all you want into that.
I'm not quite seeing how that maps to 2026 unless one of the Mayo players is holding a horseshoe or perhaps a rabbit's foot.
It came from Mayo supporters in Liverpool. Apparently it had an inscription on it that said, "Good luck, Mayo."
Good for them. That's nice. That's a nice thing to do.
They scored an additional 2-6 after the break.
Oh, jeez. Lads, let's go win the second half as well, they said.
Final score is 4-11 to 5 points.
Oh, it's a right beating. But what a way to win your first All-Ireland.
Yeah, and it was the biggest margin since, I think, the early 1900s.
Wow. So this is, I mean, looking at it, in the broad sweep of things, this is a Mayo team that have, they're just, like you mentioned there about letting loose. It's like they've let loose here. Once they got the opportunity, they've just let it all out in an All-Ireland final, probably in a way that they've always wanted to.
The teenager Josie Munnelly's having a great all day. Patsy Flannelly and Henry Kenny are having a great day. Paddy Moclair has a great day. Paddy Munnelly, Josie's older brother, has a great day. You just get the sense that all over the field, there are huge performances.
Yeah.
And this is where the famous Up Mayo originally comes from. It's from that final. It's the first time they have cause to use it.
Fantastic.
There was an interesting story about the night before. While they were staying in the spa, some young lad from Ball had cycled up to Dublin from Ball and kind of arrived in the evening. The team kind of adopted him. They got him a room. They brought him and the bicycle out to Croke Park the next day. But in any event, he has to cycle back on the Monday.
All right. They don't actually allow him travel with them around.
Well, no, I think he's maybe he decides to do it by choice. In any event, he ends up cycling back on the Monday, trying to get back before the homecoming. Now, the homecoming,
I can only imagine. Is there any, again, omens? Like, what's the homecoming like in 1936, 90 years ago?
Well, let's start with, first of all, the Sam Maguire and the players are taken, I think, on a Jarvie back to Barry's hotel. They have a banquet in Barry's that night. And I don't know if that's the first kind of post-All-Ireland banquet or how that came about, but they have a banquet. Like Seamus O'Malley speaks at it, several officers speak, but O'Malley doesn't hang around. Like he drives back to Mayo that night after the banquet because he's teaching the next morning in Mealickmore. And apparently, according to Laffy's book, like he brings the Sam Maguire, it's supposed to have been on the back seat of the car going back to Mayo. So like the Sam Maguire for the first time passes into Mayo sometime, if this is true, in the early hours of the Monday morning on the back seat of a car. No fanfare, no fuss. It presumably rests in Seamus O'Malley's house. And the next morning, he puts it on the handlebars of his bike and he goes to teach at Mealickmore School with it.
What a surprise for the kids.
Could you imagine?
Oh my God. That's kind of fabulous. So what happens next?
So next is the rest of them have to travel down the following evening on the train from Dublin. And that's now where things start to get bananas. So from the second they cross in at Ballyhonus, it's just crowds everywhere. By the time they get to Claremorris, Seamus O'Malley rejoins them so that they can go on to Castlebar. there are thousands of people in Castlebar. They're all operating by torchlight. You know what I mean? Like, this is late in the evening. They all go down to the train station in Castlebar waiting for the team to arrive at the appointed time. The train arrives, the team aren't on it. And there's literally, what's going on here? So, they're on the mail train. So they're coming a bit later. So it's okay, we'll go back up the town. And then when they come on the mail train, which I think is after midnight, they're led by torchlight up to Linnenhall Street. There's kind of almost like, I suppose, a civic reception. This is the biggest thing to ever occur. Like, Castlebar at that time isn't population it has now. It's not like 10 or 11,000 people. But those are the kind of numbers that you're talking about being in the town on the night they arrive back. Like, population doubles, trebles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's such a massive thing. And that proximity to that defeat in 32 to Kerry, that's the key. That it's been a 4-year process to take the despair of that defeat to the victory in 36.
Fantastic. And it's celebrated deep into the winter, I'm sure. Doesn't stop them driving on in the league and winning another one and another one. Do the team they must stay together if they continue winning league titles, do they? Or is there an evolution? What happens?
No, the team stays together largely. Like, this is, if I were to give you the team's achievements at senior level, so I mentioned that statistic at the start of 9 national titles in a 6-year period. We can accept one of those as minor, one of those as junior. But I mean, and we know that they win 6 league titles in a row. They're at the 3 point in 36. They win 7 Connacht finals in the 30s.
Brilliant.
They lost another 3 finals in the same decade. You're just talking about the emergence of potentially the greatest Mayo team ever. The only sadness I see in it when you go through the story is the story of Gerard Carrell. Like, later in life, Gerard Carrell dedicates himself to coaching Ballina teams and kids in the town. And, again, and one of the descriptions from the book is of him wandering up a street in Ballina with a football under each arm and kids following him like the Pied Piper. So, I mean, if you're looking for a sadness in the story, that one really stands out. That somebody would have been for a decade such a superstar, and then over the course of their most epic journey, kind of fall away towards the back of it all. Now, the interesting thing, because we've talked in the past about the 51 teams' medals being posted out to them, this team were presented with their medals in Barry's Hotel.
On the night
at the banquet. So no such complaints there. But I mean, if you take the evolution, that 6 or 7 guys that came up from the junior team, the minors that were added over the course of those years, and, in terms of, there's another couple that come from that 35 All-Ireland winning minor team. But I guess the story of the 36 team is that they're one team in a period of sustained excellence by Mayo.
Yeah.
And it's no surprise then that, less than 14 years later, another great team emerges.
And a group of players in the 50s whose heroes were the men of 36. It's Sean Flanagan. It's young Sean Flanagan, 14 years of age, just besotted with this Mayo team, painting his doors green and red. What it tells me, actually, that story as well is just how hard it is to win, because, you've got a Mayo team that's clearly very consistent, is full of stars, have done all the right things by the sound of things, and yet, winning an All-Ireland is just that difficult. And sometimes it's what we said at the very beginning. Sometimes we get hung up on the losing of an All-Ireland, but we cannot lose sight of the achievement of making the thing in the first place and putting yourself into the position to win. Like that Mayo team, I think it's fair to say, Ciaran, in the annals of Mayo football, maybe it's been overshadowed slightly because of those 50-51 All-Irelands, but it is not considered to be anything less than a great team.
It was a brilliant team.
Yeah.
It was a brilliant team. And when you think of, we've talked about Michael Mulderig's Junior, that mission of his to be able to give his father an All-Ireland medal. Like, think how close he came. Finished in 33. He missed out on their first National League, on their first All-Ireland, having played in 2 All-Ireland finals. Like, there's all those threads. Without Michael Mulderig, you don't have what comes behind. Like when we talked about 32, them having to train in pods, he's looking after this pod in Erris. You know what I mean? He's that much of a leader. Now, he may well have been very close to Brendan Nestor with the flag. In any event,
he did what he could. He did what he could.
They're going back to America.
Oh, of course they are. Yes. How does that go?
That may well be a story for another day, but they're going back as a headline act this time.
The American stories are always a story for another day. Ciaran, that was fantastic. Thank you so much for bringing us through that. I think that is just so important, like, to remember that, it's such an effort to make finals. It's such an effort to win games that should be recognised as well. That Mayo's record of getting to All-Ireland finals, it's not the failure that it's sometimes portrayed as. It's an enormous achievement. And, when you look for what you've described of that 1936 team, it's exactly the same sense of itself, the determination to kind of move above and beyond the mediocre, if you like, to succeed. They showed that trait. That's the same trait that's in the 50-51 team. And that is a trait that we have seen in Mayo teams over the last 10 or 15 years as well in particular. And I hope we'll see it again on Sunday. And where that takes them, Ciaran, we shall just have to wait and see.
If they're good enough.
If they're good enough. And on that note, we will first of all wish Kerry the very, very best of luck as well. I mean, if you talk about a team that has always shown the determination to rise and to be there on the big days and to perform, they're the standard setters. So they're the ones that everybody always looks to try and emulate, and Mayo will be no different there. We wish them well. We wish Mayo the very best of luck. Obviously, we've got a Mayo man here in the house, as we all know. So, we'll be hoping for the very best for them. We hope anybody going to the game enjoys it, be safe, have the fun, enjoy the homecoming, win or lose. It's always worth turning out for your team and telling them, it's our way of saying thank you, isn't it? Just to turn out and tell them that we appreciate all their efforts as well. And to you, our audience, thank you so much for listening. Keep listening. Rate us, like us, don't like us, review us, whatever you want. Give us feedback if you enjoyed the episode or not. We love to hear from everybody. And if you like this stuff, do tell somebody else. Just tell us, hey, this GA podcast thing that has just a load of episodes that is very rapidly heading towards 100 now. And if you like this stuff, if you want to listen to all of those episodes, just go to overthebar.club and subscribe for less than the cost of a match program every month. Ciaran, to you I say have a great weekend. I know you're working on Sunday, but I know you'll enjoy it and soak it up. You're a man who carries your Mayo heritage with great pride. You've been around Gaelic games in Mayo for many, many years and given yourself to it. So I hope you have a great weekend, and all the Mayo people, all the Kerry people, have a great weekend. The rest of us sitting on the ditch are just hoping for a classic, and wherever that takes us. And to you, our listeners, we will talk to you very soon.
And if I'm not here next week, you know what happened.
We'll carry on. We'll carry on.
Love GEA history? Then you love going deeper with Over the Bar's Cordia Club membership. For just €5 a month, you'll get exclusive member-only episodes and series, early ad-free access to the main podcast, plus detailed show notes, a newsletter, and the chance to have your questions answered. Join Michael Foley and Ciaran O'Hara as they uncover the stories, the legends, and the questions that shaped our games. Don't just listen, be part of the club. Join now at overthebar.club.